Welcome to Inspired Edinburgh, the home of powerful conversations. I'm Elliot Reeves, and my guest today is Alan O'Mahony. Alan is a renowned personal trainer, fitness and fat loss expert, former professional Muay Thai fighter, and podcaster. You specialise in helping busy men over 30 get in shape and rediscover the joy in training. You've made a name for yourself as one of the premier trainers in the UK, recognising early in your career that the real needs of your clients ran much deeper than training and meal plans. Getting to the core of each client's blockers and limiting beliefs has been the secret to your success. Alan, it's absolutely phenomenal to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I feel very honoured.
It's an absolute pleasure, genuinely. We've spent a little bit of time together and finding out about your story and a lot of the things that on the surface that you don't actually see about a person. So it's been quite fascinating.
Yeah, it's funny, it's only when you speak to somebody else do you really realise how interesting it is, because, you know, our own story, we've lived it. Yeah. But when someone, oh my God, that's amazing. I was like, well, is it? I don't know. When I was invited on, it was felt very honoured. It was great. Thank you.
Awesome. No, it's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So, I mean, if we can start going back to, you know, your early life, where you grew up, and generally what the whole experience of growing up was like for you.
So I'm Irish, so I'm from Cork, right in the city. So we moved around a lot, but I was always from the city of Cork. So when I was born, we were living on the north side of the city, and as a child, and people are always quite surprised when I say this, I was just this really scrawny, I was always tall, gangly, uncoordinated, really ill a lot of the time, and with this mad, crazy afro. So I literally looked like an upside down toilet brush. I was that thin and my hair was that big. I had no interest in sport. I had no interest in food. I was the polar opposite to what you might think I was. I was never the jock or the athlete or anything like that. So, but from a really loving home, two parents, obviously two parents, but one's passed away now, unfortunately. A brother and a sister. I'm the eldest of them, and it is. Again, what I would call a very normal upbringing. My parents done our best to provide for us, good values, and just a really solid upbringing.
Yeah, good stuff. I've never been to Ireland, believe it or not.
All right.
So, I mean, I know Dublin and Cork.
Yeah.
How would you describe it as a place to somebody that's never been?
Cork, there's two sides to Cork. So geographically, it's the biggest county in Ireland. So you have West Cork, which is obviously west of the city, is absolutely stunning. Some of the most beautiful scenery, very similar to Scotland. You know, really green, right on the coast, absolutely stunning. And then you've Cork City, which I think because Roy Keane is from Cork as well, and it's the best description I've ever heard is that I'm perfectly balanced. I have a chip on both shoulders, and it is so. It's Cork City, probably more akin to Glasgow in that it's a bit edgy. Okay. You know, everyone has that little bit of edge about them, that little bit of bite. You know, it's almost aggressively friendly, but it's good fun. It's good fun. Yeah, I do like it.
Interesting. Yeah. I like it. Good stuff. So, I mean, what were your aspirations? What were your career plans growing up? Where did you envisage yourself?
So when I started finishing up school, so what we would call sixth year, when you're age 17, 18, that type of way, I had no interest in going to university or anything like that. But at that point, I was getting into training and exercise, going to the gym a bit more. So I was more interested in kind of physical exercise. But I wanted to be a fireman. I always make the joke I'm an accidental personal trainer. But you could say it's an accident or it grew organically, and it has grown organically for me, which is great. So when I left school, I just started working full time because that's what you do, and so I had to wait for the fire brigade to recruit. In the meantime, I started taking up Thai boxing. and only because there was a club not far from where I was living. So I just thought, oh yeah, you know, I'm fit. I like this. It resonates with me. So I went down one night and I loved it. I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. And so a couple of years went by. I was still working, still waiting on the fire brigade to recruit, and I was just training and getting better and better and better. I was having then what went into with the advanced class, so with all the fighters. So I started sparring, started then having some amateur fights, and I was then saying, well, you know, do you want to fight? And I was like, yeah, sure, you know, why not? It just, again, I never started it to fight. It just happened organically. I was okay, you know, I was all right, had a few fights, won a lot of them, and because then you know, I was kind of a senior fighter in the club at that point, people would often say, you know, do you do private sessions or stuff like that? And I used to spend so much time down in the club anyway. I was like, yeah, sure. So I accidentally personal training people.
Good grounding for that, I guess.
Yeah, it was just organic, you know. It was just paying my fees to the gym, so it was a win-win to me. So the way I looked at it is I got to train for free. Sweet.
Yeah, totally.
So I didn't, when the fire brigade recruitment process came up, I didn't get it in the end, got through to the last round. But at that point then, I was really, really into training, really into wanting to learn more. So I then done my first fitness course, I can't even remember the year, in Ireland, in Cork, and loved it so much. I then moved to London to do my degree in sports science, and then I loved that so much. Well, certain parts of that I loved a lot. I then done a master's in sports physiology. So again, my education grew all quite organically as well.
Which is very much so.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
Yeah, I'm interested to find out a bit about your sort of Muay Thai. I read on your social media that you spoke about the fact that you dieted down to 3% body fat.
Yeah.
So, what sort of techniques did you use in order to do that then?
Do you know what? Back then, I had zero, and no one in the club really did either. Yeah. So with no guidance, idea of nutrition or anything like that. All we had to do was make the weight for the fight. And now we did know you could dehydrate yourself for about 3-4 kilos of just water weight, and then rehydrate after that. That's a common practice. But I had no idea. I just trained loads and loads and loads, like hours upon. You train twice a day for hours on end. You know, you run in the morning for depends on what you're doing that evening, but it could be up to like 2 hours run, and then conditioning work in the evening with pad work and probably sparring then as well. So the amount you would burn is just insane. And, you know, at the time I was, you know, early 20s, so hormonally I was at my absolute peak as well. So but when I only know I was 3% body fat because when I was doing my fitness course, we were doing body fat testing one day, and they used me as an example, and he was like, the teacher was like, this can't be right. But then he was like trying to grab the skin, and he was like, oh my God. He's like, Alan, that's actually not healthy. Like, I was like, oh no, but it's only for a short period of time. I come back up, you know. Yeah. So, but I had no idea, to be honest. It was getting to 3% was never the aim. The aim was to make weight for a fight. But admittedly, I think that time that fight was at my lower. I was a lower weight, so I think that was at 73 kilos, where I normally fought at 75, and I'd probably walk around at about 80, 79, 80. So, so that was lower than normal. Yeah.
You posted some footage actually from your back in the day. It was a head kick knockout you won by.
That's
actually,
right.
Which is quite awesome to watch that. You look, you know, because of your height, you're quite a sort of rangy fighter. You use a lot of kicks and stuff. Keeping
very
at
long
distance.
limbs.
Yeah, which is really cool. What would you say was the biggest takeaway or the biggest lesson from, you know, that chapter of your life?
Again, I spoke about this recently. It was that extreme responsibility, and where that came from was when I first started sparring and being with the fighters and stuff, I remember getting my nose broken one night.
Jesus.
And well, I nearly got knocked out and my nose broke, all in one combination. And if you ever got a big shot to the head, it's almost like you're underwater. Everything's slow and you can't hear quite well. And I just remember someone shouting and roaring in the background, and I thought, oh, someone's here to save me. But the coach was actually shouting at me because I was bleeding all over the ring. And so when I kind of came to, I'm like holding my nose is like over here and blood everywhere. And I was like, I didn't do it. He's like, you let him hit you. It's your fault. And I was like, whoa, no, I didn't see it at the time, but upon reflection, so there I am trying to fix my nose and clean the bloody blood up. And he's like, well, next time you'll learn. And
wow.
Admittedly, a harsh lesson, but one that stuck with me. And it didn't happen again. So
Wow. Not terribly sympathetic.
It wasn't that type of place.
Really?
Yeah. Like
Spit and sawdust, old school.
Yeah. It was a badge of honor to kind of survive that place.
Wow.
It was a fighter's gym. Like you could smell the testosterone and the attitude in the air. It was a badge of honor to come out of that place. Yeah. But that's why we were good. We were a good club.
Yeah.
And no one liked to fight us because we had a reputation within Ireland, but obviously the community would be quite small, and the UK as well. And of course, then you'd have your own individual reputation and such. But yeah, it was not the place to get mollycoddled.
No. But brilliant preparation for life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, yeah. And the camaraderie as well you have then with some, real tough men, tough lads. And when you go through a training camp for a fight together, a lot of the times, there'd be at least a couple of us fighting at the same time. To go through that, to get like that intense training regime, that intense dieting, the self-doubt, everything, it bonds you in a really, really kind of extreme way. So to have that camaraderie against a real group of alpha males is quite special.
Yeah.
And so again, that's something that will stick with me as well.
One of the really striking things for me, pardon the pun, was
Nice. I love it.
was really the sort of physical transformation that you've gone through, because you've posted a lot of pictures of how you looked, back in the day, and you look really radically different now.
Yeah.
What was that process? How did your approach to fitness and nutrition change?
Well, a lot of it's education. So, like I said, I'd done my first course back in Ireland, and it was very, very, very basic, but it was enough to kind of spark a passion. Then when I'd done my degree, of course, that goes into more detail and so on. So the education side was because a lot of it, I was just applying it to myself, and it's like, oh, right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was great. In terms of, I don't really have a plan for my body, I guess, back when I was fighting, I didn't really care how I looked. Like I said, I was more there for function and making weight. Didn't care. Don't get me wrong, it was nice having a six-pack. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, but it was. But it didn't really matter because I was there to fight and not to look pretty. Then as I mentioned before, I broke my back, and which was so I burst 2 discs, L5 and S1. They just popped out, and the muscles were so tight and spasmed up in around the vertebrae, it actually cracked the vertebrae as well.
How did that happen?
From sitting down.
Really? It's incredible.
Well, again, within context, I was on a run of fights, and they were taking their toll on me. Some were easy, I just took on too much, typical, and I could feel everything stiffening up. Like, I wasn't moving as freely. I just felt a bit out of sorts, and then my whole lower back was getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I came home one night, and I was training for a fight, and I came home one night and I just kind of plopped myself down in the chair, and next thing, I just was like, oh my God, I felt like I'd been shot. And the pain was like radiating down my legs, and that was me.
What did you think you had done?
I had no idea. It was such a weird sensation. It was a combination of nerve pain, of broken bone pain, muscular spasm. It was just a combination of everything, and everything then just clamped up. And what's worse is that when the muscles spasm up, it's a self-protect thing, so you don't move.
Yeah.
But because the discs were pouring out, the extra pressure was making them pour out even more. So
wow.
Some long road to rehab ahead of me there, but I had no idea at the time. Something went, and I knew it hurt.
Was that pretty much the end of your career?
Pretty much.
Or?
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I didn't think it was at the time. At the time, again, I defined myself as a fighter. That's all I was. That's who I was, and anything that didn't back up that identity, I didn't do. So I wasn't out drinking, partying much. It's a very solitary life. I was very selfish. I was very one-dimensional, and because that's what I was. I was a fighter, and then when that gets taken away from you, it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And it's only upon reflection have I gone through that, but at the time I didn't know, because I kept trying to come back, but it's never the same. Never the same. I had that fear, and a fighter with fear is
it's like Anderson Silva after breaking his leg.
Exactly. I saw that injury, and I get it. No, he was obviously a much higher level than I ever was. I thought mentally, if he ever got over that is just phenomenal. But I couldn't.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what my original question was. I think it was about your transforming your physique and then the back. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So I broke my back, and so I couldn't train in any shape or form. I could barely walk. So I gained weight. Now, people will say, "Oh, you didn't gain that much." I gained a lot for me. It's all relative. Was I overweight? Probably not. I was probably still okay. Probably just slightly. But not a huge amount, but a vast difference from being an athlete from who people feared, and did not want to be in the ring with, to not being able to put my socks on. It's a big, big shift. So, after that, I was responding quite well to physio, and my physio at the time recommended I start doing Pilates. So I started doing that, and I was getting better and better, and I was like, well, that's at least some form of exercise. Not exactly what I was used to, but needs must. And I just started kind of doing things that felt okay. The odd time I would try and go back and hit pads and stuff like that, and I couldn't move for next week. So at some point, I made the decision to not hit pads again. But and over the last couple of years, I've been relatively pain-free, and doesn't stop me from doing anything. So I started lifting weights more and more, and I thought, well, I was always quite skinny. I was always quite, underweight. So I'm 105 kilos now. I used to fight at 75. So 30 kilo of a difference is quite a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Now, did I make a conscious decision to gain 30 kilos? Absolutely not, but it's equally, I was say, I wouldn't mind getting a little bit bigger. And again, my kind of professional development grew from there, and understanding what I responded to, how to do it, and so on and so forth. So now I'm at a place where I feel good, I'm happy with how I'm looking, and so there was no conscious plan. It almost just ended up like that.
Yeah. How would you describe your approach to your nutrition, your diet, and your training?
With myself or with clients?
Yeah, no, with yourself, just initially.
Again, it really depends on what I do. So, like I said, when I was a child, I had no interest in food. As a grown man, I love my food. I'm a real foodie. So this whole old school bodybuilding, chicken, broccoli, and bright rice type thing. I could not do. It's not me.
Okay.
I love flavor. I love taste. I love texture. So, but I also love convenience. So, so it's a little bit of a catch-22 sometimes.
Yeah.
So I take a really flexible approach generally. I like, for example, right now I'm going to my sister's wedding at the end of the month, and that's over in Portugal. So I am dieting down a little bit, and so I will keep an eye on my calories. I'll obviously just start eating a bit less of what I do, but I would say 80% of my food is that always cooked and prepped by me. The other 20% will be that one or maximum 2 nights out. I'll either have a takeaway or a meal out.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I don't need to live like some sort of pariah. You know, why not go out and enjoy myself? So
definitely, good stuff. Good stuff. It's interesting. I've been on your website having a look around at some of your things, and you talk about, here's what you can expect from me if you're working with somebody. And number 1, I will not help you lose weight quick.
Yeah.
Number 2, if you don't want to put in the effort, you're not going to enjoy my methods. And number 3, if you're looking for the easy way, I don't want to help you. You definitely have a very sort of to the point approach, and I suspect that's maybe come about, through experience.
It has. I will also admit my approach has mellowed over the years as well. So I'm kind of cringing as you said that. That'll be changed tomorrow. But it does stand true because I'm not about quick fixes. I'm not here to sell a supplement to anyone or anything like that. Mm-hmm. The basics will always be the basics because they work, and that's such boring advice, and no one wants to hear it. Everyone wants to know the secret, right? But there's not. It's consistent and it's discipline and it's all those boring things. And I get that they're boring. I know, but it's the truth at the same time. So, my approach has mellowed, definitely. I definitely come with things from a more understanding and empathetic point of view as I've gotten older. But yeah, that must have been a few years
well,
back.
I don't know. Some of your social media content is quite thought-provoking and can be quite, dare I say, triggering, but for the right reasons.
Yep.
Looking at some of your posts, and we can come to that a little bit later because it's interesting to find out your psychology around that. But so hypothetically, say somebody wants to start working with you, or they start working with you. I mean, maybe talk through how that works.
Yeah. When someone reaches out to me, again, I do look, and that's exactly, you just said the exact word that I always use, the psychology of it. Where as humans we tend to be more motivated by the avoidance of pain more so than the reward of pleasure. So when someone emails, in that moment they're in pain, maybe not physical but emotional, mental, something's going on within them to go, I need help. And so that's a real big thing, and I think it's more of a bigger thing for men as well to really kind of admit that to themselves. So and that's what I mean, I'm very empathetic and much more understanding because that's what they need at that time. They're almost coming to their moment of biggest weakness. So the very first thing is very similar to here. I sit down and have a chat. I try and make them at ease. I try and understand them as best as I can, the things they struggle with, how it impacts their life. From their day to day, some people have their bellies are so big they can't even tie their shoelaces and things like that. So that's the thing that really gets to me. Not just that, but the real day to day inconveniences. And it's not me judging them; it's me going, mate, that sucks. I was like, right, I can definitely help you with that. So I want to understand them and support them, and not judge them and make them feel worse than what they already do, because that helps nobody, So from there, we then try and find, right, what's one thing that you can realistically do that has the biggest impact? Because again, through experience, if we try to fix everything, and they're probably excited because they're now speaking to me and see a solution in place, they want to do everything. I'm like, nope, it doesn't work. You might do it for a day or two, and it'll all come crashing down. And so it's like one thing that we can do consistently. Again, I know it's boring, right? But it works. It
Yeah.
works. And if we can do that, if it's, say, 10,000 steps a day, if it's going to the gym 3 times a week, if it's cycling to work, whatever it is, we are trying to get a plan in place, we agree on it. And if we, at the end of each week, I review it, say, right, you said you'd cycle to work 5 days a week, you've done 4, not bad, right? Next week, we're just going to nail that. And then, we're going to add something else in now next week. We're going to make sure we drink at least a litre of water a day. So I'm all about the small wins and the consistency, but that builds momentum.
Yeah.
And that momentum then, so small changes. So I'd rather do 100 small changes than one massive one.
Yeah.
And it's less overwhelming for the say, all right. Sometimes it's almost too underwhelming for them. And it's like, is that it? I was like, trust me.
Yeah.
That's all you need right now. And go from there. And I just try to take that fear and that anxiety away from them and just start drip feeding in more and more and more things as we go forward.
This is maybe a bit of a cliche question, but what would be your number one piece of advice to somebody looking to, say, lose weight? It's such a common thing.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, there's hundreds of things that I can think of, but I'm trying to give something that might be a little bit different. I think a lot of the time we unconsciously eat, and even I'm guilty of it. So, and I hate saying it, but you know, maybe for a week or so you should track calories, just to see, because so many people would drink calories, like in our coffees, pop and things like that. So I even eat normally, like eat exactly as you do, just track them, and you'd be quite surprised at how many, and every now and then I'll do it as well, just to kind of rein me back in. But yeah, I would say track calories. Bar, if you didn't want to do that, like it is very convenient. So, you know, with so many apps and stuff like that, you literally just scan the food. So it's not as hard.
It's like a MyFitnessPal type thing.
Yeah, that's a great one. Again, you can argue about the accuracy of it, but you're just looking for ballpark figures here.
Yeah.
You know, we're not looking for NASA. You know, you're not an athlete. You're an everyday person. We're just looking at, 100 calories plus or minus is not going to make or break you.
Yeah.
We just want a ballpark figure here.
Yeah.
The next thing I would say would be look to improve the quality of your food. You know,
Nice.
It's very hard to overeat, and I hate the word clean food. I don't use that term at all. But like food from the land, you know. If you improve the quality of your food, it's actually very hard to overeat that. No, you can have the most perfect diet in the world, but still gain weight. So it does come down to calories. However, there's also health. You know, you have to consider health as well. So improving the quality of your food, more veg, more fruit, more proper cuts of meat. You know, less meats like burgers and things like that. So that would be the next thing. And the last one, what a lot of people don't realize is that the biggest defining factor in the amount of calories you burn is not your exercise and your structured exercise and training, as I would call it, is more your movement over the course of the day. So, you know, a lot of our jobs these days are, you know, desk jobs, or they're quite sedentary jobs. So we don't move around as much. So that's what's called NEAT, N-E-A-T, so non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that has much more of a bearing on calorie burning than your prescribed exercise. So those 10,000 steps a day is actually far greater calorie burn than the hour you've smashed it in the gym. So basically move more, walk more, do the gardening, you know, leave your car at home type thing. Of course, within, you know, it's, but yeah, if you manage to do those 3 things, like, I would reckon 90% of the population would be in a much better position health-wise and aesthetically-wise.
Yeah, very much so. What are your thoughts on the supplement industry, or things like fat burners or creatine or BCAAs, protein?
Yeah. they have their place. You know, to say that they don't work is ridiculous. They do. However, is that what the person needs right now? A lot of the time, no. If your first port to call is supplements, then your priorities are really screwed up. You know, move more, eat a bit better. Yes, it's very oversimplified. You know, I do understand that, but your supplements are so far down the list of things you need to worry about. A lot of the time, they're not worth considering.
Yeah.
The only one I would consider if for people would be a good protein shake, if just for convenience sake, if nothing else. You know, if you don't have time to eat during the day, it's really easy. You could use it as a meal replacement if you wanted to. But again, only if the person couldn't eat during the day. Yeah. So besides that, everything else is kind of, you know, 1-2% improvements.
Yeah.
Which, you know, for someone who's very out of shape and overweight, then that's not worth it for them.
Yeah,
you know? It's not worth the money.
What's your favourite protein?
Well, I hope I get a sponsorship for this now. I use a company called Bulk Powders.
Yeah.
They're the ones that sponsor Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
And hopefully me now after this.
They've got quite a lot of influencers working for them, actually. I think they do
Oh, is
quite
there?
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do quite a few sort of TV and social media ads and stuff.
I've been with them for quite a while. Again, my supplement regime is very, very basic. I have a protein shake, which I vary between a whey, which is a dairy-based one, and I also do a beef one, because I'm not hugely great with dairy in terms of digesting it, so I like to alternate between the two, and a vitamin D tablet, because I don't see the sun enough. So just solely for health reasons. Yeah. That's it.
That's a big one, actually. People definitely don't get enough of that. I mean, probably globally, but especially in the UK.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And of course in Scotland in winter as well, you know, we're so far north, the winter nights, they're long, right? We get a couple of hours daylight. So I would up my dose then during winter. Yeah. But again, nothing magic, you know? Yeah.
Good stuff. You do a 30-day challenge.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to hear about how it works.
Really, really easy. So again, there's nothing inherently magic about what I do. You know, and like you said,
very humble of you.
But it's true though. It is true. Like all I'm doing is ultimately trying to manipulate people into being healthier. Like that is the nuts and bolts of it. Yeah. And anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. You know.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
But what I've done again, so like I said, I feel way more confident, really happy in myself to be able to help. Well, me's, the me's of the world. Yes. And so I sat down and I thought, right, what are the things that are my friends struggling with? And like on our WhatsApp group, I have like the world's best sample audience, right? So like, lads, what are the problems with your training? So I drop in the odd question. They hate it. But time being a big one. Being able to get to the gym is another one, because obviously families, they tend to eat together, so if usually their wives or girlfriends or partners would cook, then the food might be out of their control. The accountability, they don't enjoy it, it's not fun, they don't know what they're doing. So all these things, so I was kind of saying, all right, well, I can actually address each and every one of these points here. So I have an app, and I started creating kind of workouts, but just really quick, you know, say 30-40 minute type workouts that can be done either in the gym or at home. They don't. Then the food side of things. So I planned workouts over the course of 4 weeks, and they kind of increase in intensity as you go through the program, because, well, you know, you get fitter. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. Food wise, so again, there is shopping lists and things like that to give you more ideas. For those who tend to be a bit more analytical and want to track everything, cool, I can give you all the things that you need specifically. For the lads who just want to eat a bit better on the go, then I also have that as well. So I love using my slow cooker. So I have a rule for food prep, which is called 5 minutes or fuck it. So if it takes me more than 5 minutes, I don't do it.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, it's the best thing I've ever, honestly. That's actually, though, I take back my earlier advice. If anyone wants to lose weight, invest in a slow cooker.
Okay.
Best thing ever. So before I go to bed every night, I chuck whatever meat, so it could be chicken, could be diced beef, could be fish, whatever. Maybe a tin of tomatoes or some coconut milk, whatever I'm feeling like, because again, I love flavour. Chuck in some veg, stir it all up, leave it on overnight, and it's done in the morning.
Really?
Yeah, like that simple. So like you said, I love my food, but I also love my convenience. So for the lads who then they wake up in the morning, they chuck it into their Tupperware and off they go. Yeah. So the convenience side of it is quite attractive to them as well, and then we have them all in like a Facebook group and a WhatsApp group. So I kind of set out like little mini challenges and stuff like that, and it's great for the banter and stuff like that because, you know, lads, we tend to be a bit standoffish with each other, and it kind of has that alpha male type mentality. But I take the responsibility and the role there of kind of breaking down those barriers and just, you know, bringing that bit of a fun element, that competitive element. And it's great, everyone gets involved. And so at the beginning we have like what I call it, a fitness test, and everyone has to record it and throw it up in the group. So it's the accountability side of it. And so it's like as many press ups as you can in 60 seconds. I literally don't care if it's 1 or 100, it does not matter. As many jumping squats in 60 seconds and as many sit-ups in 60 seconds. So nothing outrageous, but it's good fun, you know, and everyone posting their videos and everyone starts bantering each other, and it breaks down the barriers straight away. It's great. But I make notes, so I have a little Excel sheet and I put everyone's times in. And then at the very end, they do the exact same challenge, and I put the new scores in and I calculate the percentage improvements on each of them. And it's great, you know, it's great for accountability, it's great for that competitiveness. And then the winner gets a t-shirt. So, you know, nice. Win-win.
Yeah, totally.
So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And you know, I'm always there on hand anyway. I do weekly videos in terms of topics, and but yeah, anything they want to ask along the way, that's what I'm there for. So it's good fun. I really enjoy it. It's been great. It's been really, it is a lot of work, but it's been so much fun as well, and to kind of build relationships with these fellas and to help them, and to hear, you know, they then sometimes message privately telling me how much, you know, happier they are, or, you know, things that they couldn't do beforehand, and their confidence is coming. It's great. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Something that seems to have become immensely popular, and it's probably come from the sort of bodybuilding, you know, sort of niche, if you want, is like meal prepping. Yeah. So having, you know, Tupperware containers with chicken breast, a couple of bits of broccoli and some rice. I mean, what are your thoughts around that?
Well, like that, it's... So why that whole thing has come around is because they're what's called single macro foods. So you can easily gauge the amount of protein by the amount of chicken. You can easily gauge the amount of carbohydrates from the rice, and, you know, broccoli for your nutrients and your minerals and stuff like that. So that's why that whole thing has come to be. And especially if you're a bodybuilder, you don't want to have any foods in your diet, especially near a competition, that will bloat you or make you retain water and stuff like that. But so because they're ultimately then the leanest people on the planet, well, it makes sense to follow their advice, right? And I can kind of understand the logic in that, but it's not realistic, you know. You know, I do have a colleague, he is a bodybuilder, he does eat like that. And, you know, he's fine with it, you know, that's what he signed up to. And me personally, I'm not a bodybuilder. I love my food, I love my flavors. I would not eat like that. Okay. So, you know, if you want to do that, crack on. But it is a very bland and often miserable life.
But that's the thing, like, you know, someone who would look at you in the condition that you're in and the fact that you're like, a nutritionist and personal trainer and these things, I think that maybe people would assume that that's something that you do.
Oh yeah, I get it I get it all the time.
What are some of the misconceptions that you find from other people?
Oh, I actually
about
really hate telling people what I do. Genuinely, because so it's usually one or two things. It's like, oh, you're a health freak. Mate, I'm in the pub with you right now, with a pint in my hand, and it doesn't offend me. It's just like, oh, I have to have this conversation again, So that's one thing. And the other thing is then I was like, oh, should I be eating this? Oh, sure, or no, I don't know. So either one of those two things I get a lot. I guess because I'm a PT, again, people have that stereotypical. We all have preconceived ideas about certain things, right? And they all have a certain unless they've worked with a trainer or a really good trainer before, then they might have a really positive opinion of it. But for the most part, it's kind of met with a bit of suspicion and.
Yeah. I really enjoy hearing your views on things. You have quite a sort of counter approach to health and fitness. Because there's so many trends nowadays where people are just like, oh, that's a thing to do. And so many trainers have a very similar way of doing things. Whereas yours is quite, I like it.
Oh, thank you.
That's good.
Thank
really
you. Good. Again, like when you said earlier, I did discover quite early in my career that people need more than just training and meal plans. It's the why. It's the underlying reasons that drive us, that keep us on track. And I once I kind of realized that, and then that's just opened up a whole new world. And the thing is, like, human psychology hasn't really changed. To me, we're still cavemen, but just with iPhones. Nothing really has changed in that respect. So to get under the surface, so that's why a lot of my musings they could be a bit of a rabbit hole sometimes, admittedly, but I find the psychology of change, of identities, I find it fascinating because that is ultimately what I'm doing. I'm facilitating change. I'm ultimately looking to change someone's identity from the overweight. They might have been overweight all their lives. So how can I expect them to change to a healthy person overnight? I can't. It's naive. There's a lot of internal struggle that comes with that, and to recognize and understand and appreciate that is what really helps your clients.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the most common reasons that people hold themselves back or sabotage themselves?
I think identity is one.
Yeah.
So our subconscious has two main functions: to create an identity and to keep it, and to keep us alive. But it only looks to keep us alive in the short term, so on a day-to-day basis, right? So an example I've often used is that if you're someone who has a cake at 11 o'clock or a donut at 11 o'clock every day, you are that person. You've ingrained that habit, and it's like, right, 11 o'clock, you conditioned yourself into doing. If I took that donut away from you, at 11 o'clock, you're going to be like, you might even break out into sweats and, because that goes against your identity, right? And you're then trying to use your willpower. Now, willpower is only a finite source. So you have all of a sudden, I know it's only a donut, let's not lose sight of that. However, there's so much more going on than that, right? You are a person who did this yesterday. Now you're a person who doesn't do that today. Your subconscious go, no, what the hell? We done this and we kept it safe. We have this identity. We're alive. We should do this every day. And to not then do it, it is sending out all these thoughts and everything else, and this huge amount of struggle. And your willpower, like I said, it's finite. Your subconscious is just insanely powerful, and it'll kick willpower's ass all day long. And you might get away with it for a day or two or three. Ultimately, the donut will be back in your diet soon enough. Yeah. So when I said I can't expect everyone to change overnight or to change everything at once, it's too big a change.
Yeah.
It's, that subconscious, that identity is just locked in. You know it. It's safe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people have theorized that the holding that extra is an actual physical protection as well as a side effect of eating too much.
Okay.
So yeah, once I kind of discovered that, I said, right, that is. So how do we start moving away from that identity? Is quite tricky.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it small incremental changes?
It depends. Yeah, I'm a much bigger fan of that than all out full-on changes. Yeah, because when you know, and I'd often heard about people say, "Oh, I'm an all or nothing person." I was like, well, chances are you're a nothing person then, because going all won't work. You know.
Yeah.
It's just too much to take on board, and so we ultimately, like I said, I'm manipulating them to a certain degree and facilitating change into a new identity, into a new person. So a more confident, healthy, ultimately happier person for sure, but they don't know that person. That person's over there. They never met that person.
Yeah.
So it's scary, right? So yeah, it's by understanding all that turmoil and being there as a reassuring force, then that's been how I've approached it, and some of the I guess secret to some of my success with that.
Yeah. Have you ever struggled with, addiction or obsession?
For myself?
Yeah.
Do you know what? No, I haven't, is the short answer. And I can find a balance with everything in my life, but I could not find a balance with Thai boxing. Like I said earlier on, that was me. I was all in. Nothing else mattered. So with that, no. And that's why I can't go back to it, because I couldn't just half-heartedly do it. It's that, for whatever reason, I don't. Again, maybe because it took me so long to come away from that identity, to go back to it, means it would really throw a lot of upheaval into my life now. So addiction, no. Yeah, but unbalanced with that, absolutely, yeah.
I really want to ask you about, sort of obesity and the food industry. Because, in a sort of Venn diagram, there is an area at which they both sort of interrelate. Why do you think obesity is such a big problem today?
Oh, such a big question, isn't it? There's so many factors you can look, like societal. The food we eat is, generally poor quality food, mass produced and all that. Then people take less responsibility for their further intake. You look at societal pressures, and so food is such a social. Like, the thing is, we need food.
Yeah.
We need food. So we socialize around food. We celebrate with food. It's such a societal and emotional thing then as well. So it's such a multifaceted. We're so busy as people. We have apps that we can just have a pizza on our door in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The convenience of the lower quality food is just unbelievable. Oh, take a pick.
Yeah.
Take a pick. Yeah. Like I said earlier, I'm a massive believer and fan of like extreme responsibility.
Yeah.
So I can't control what companies are producing what food. All I can control is me and my little corner of the world, and I can control what I put into my mouth.
Yeah.
And that's so it's easy to look outwards and point the fingers. And again, there is definitely responsibility there. However, because I can't control that, I like to control the controllables, which is me, and take full responsibility there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forward on it as to whether there is an onus on the government or regulation of the food companies to not produce such bad food. But I think you're right. Ultimately, it's the responsibility of the individual.
It is
to change the way that they're. And look, I know firsthand how difficult it is, but yeah, I think you're probably right.
It is, and I do think there is more change coming with that, and in a great way. I go to the cinema quite regularly, and I saw a sign just by the concession stand saying that they were recommending people choose diet drinks, not the full sugar drinks, because it was cheaper.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Is that
so
right?
I think there's some, I know there was a lot of talk about the sugar tax and stuff like that. So, but again, not world changing, but definitely a little bit of a step in the right direction. And but
Interesting.
people are going to do what they're going to. We live in a society where food is omnipresent. We're no longer hunter-gatherer. It's delivered to our doorsteps. So now that we don't have that in our lives, it's like, what do we do to fill our time? And a lot of the time it can be eat.
Yeah. Difficult.
It is. Like you said, it's trying to take responsibility, but without judging yourself either, making yourself feel, oh, my fault, I'm fat. that helps nobody. It's when I say take responsibility, I mean own it, and take the power away from it and give it back to you. It's a good thing, it's a positive thing. But sometimes people misconstrue what I say by, it's your fault. It's like, yeah, but that's a good thing because you have the power to change it.
Exactly.
And it's actually a really good, powerful thing.
Yeah.
Not me judging you type up on my high horse, which can be very, very common in the fitness industry. So I do understand why people get triggered by things like that or misunderstand it. It's an emotional thing, so I get it.
Yeah. Which is a nice segue into social media. What's your favourite platform and why?
I have different things for different reasons. So, Facebook, I like because of the groups. I think the groups are great. I'm a member of lots of different groups, from social media groups to entrepreneur groups to training and nutrition groups and things like that. I very rarely post on my personal profile anymore, but I would use my business page, is what it's called, for content and stuff like that. YouTube, I use YouTube more as a resource. I don't really use it as like a social media. I very rarely comment on things. I don't watch many YouTubers. I wouldn't know that, that universe. There's a few channels I'd follow. Inspired Edinburgh being one.
Thank you.
But there is another one, like Arsenal Fan TV. I'd always was a big Arsenal fan, so I'd watch that. The few funny ones, like the Bro Science one. Did you ever see that? Dom Mazzetti is his name.
No, I'm not sure.
It's a fitness based one, but it's very, very funny in that he. It's all done ironically, so it's very good.
Let's check that.
But more of a resource than anything else. So certain coaches that I'd follow, certain nutritionists and things like that who I really, really rate, that I watch their content, but more as like I said, as a kind of self-development resource more so than me being social. And Instagram then tends to be where I would be more so in conversational and stuff like that.
It was, I'm trying to think, I think it was probably Instagram that I first found you, actually.
All right.
And I wrote down some of my personal faves on your Instagram, where it's just like literally a quote that's posted.
All right.
It's a sort of meme, and you've got like, you may want to unfollow me. None of my clients have ever lost weight.
That's right.
But that's right. You go on to talk about because they know where the weight has actually gone. It's like in the rep or in the.
It's done very consciously.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I lost my keys. Oh my God, I lost 20 pounds. No.
One of the more recent ones you've done is why warm-ups are like foreplay.
Man. You can see why I'm divorced.
But it's posts like that are so good for engagement, and because they really get people's attention.
Yeah, again, you know, I never post. A lot of people post controversial stuff to be controversial for controversial sake.
Yes.
And I find that boring. I find it childish, and I find it bratish. It really doesn't resonate with me at all. But there's nothing wrong with being tongue-in-cheek, to having fun, you know, which is why recently I did a bit of a social media audit, and I was looking through my stuff and I was like, this is boring as hell, you know. So I stopped posting for a few days, and I say, what do I want? Well, I say, why do I use social media? What do I want to put out there? What is it representing of me? Mm-hmm. And quite quickly, I was like, well, people don't know anything about me, you know? And it's like, yeah, it's great posting exercises and tutorials and things like that, but why should they listen to me? They don't know me. And so all right, so I kind of quickly, well, I say quickly, it took me over an hour, you know, kind of highlighted my story, as it were. And I posted, so over the course of 5 days, I had like 5 different stories of my story. And it went, people were absolutely loving my social media has gone insane because of it. But I think it's because they got a better understanding of me. Yes. And me being so open about breaking my back, and having fighting being taken away from me, from getting divorced, and you know, because you know, we all have, maybe some people put me on a pedestal, I don't know, but for them to see some of the things that I've struggled with or gone through, they're like, all right, that's a way more human. Exactly. And my social media has been much better since. Yeah. That's awesome. But yeah, well, warm-up's are like foreplay. And it's funny, I would say that on a daily basis to people, like, come on, let's do some foreplay. And just as a throwaway comment, because, well, it's just how I am. And then I thought, oh, actually, I'll remember that one later on. Yeah, I think a lot of people's approach to social media, and I sometimes think this about myself, is that you feel almost there's an obligation to post something like, I've not posted anything on Instagram for a couple of days, I should probably do that, rather than have a sort of coherent strategy or some sort of, like, I really like the storytelling element to it. Yeah. So that's very cool. Yeah, exactly. I did feel compelled to post, and when you do that, it never works, it never clicks, because like I said, my content was boring, it was dull, it lacked any context, and it was actually causing me more work and more stress than anything. And where I thought, no, I'll just put a pause on that because, well, I can. You know, I'll always concentrate on the people who are paying me first, you know, they're my priority. And then I thought, do you know what, I could do a bit better here, and I actually enjoy writing as well. So it's actually quite nice to, well, write stuff not necessarily about me, but write stuff that people enjoyed and that resonated with. Yeah, I like that. What are some of do you have you know, sort of spiritual practices or anything like that? Do you have routines, maybe like meditation or cold showers or anything like that? Both, funny enough. Really? Yeah. So meditate daily. Do you? Yeah. It's just something I do. So like a guided type of meditation? Yeah, just kind of a body scan. You know, again, I have an app that I always make the point that if you can't find 15 minutes a day, there's something seriously wrong in your life. You know, we can all find 15 minutes. We really can. So just, and I kind of do it at different times. Sometimes if I work in a particularly long day, I will find 15 minutes just to sit down and just kind of have that body scan, just to check in with myself. You know, I really like it. Other time, if I finished, say in the afternoon, I came home, I would just sit down on the couch and do it, and just kind of, that's, you know. So I don't have a set routine with that, but it is just something I'll always do. Well, you know, because it's not hard, and I enjoy it, and I feel the benefit from it. So. Yes. Shower. So my morning routine. Again, we were talking about this during the week, actually, me and some of the lads. I have a cold shower every morning. And again, it's in Scotland. That's pretty cold. You know, but like I'm up about 5:30 most days.
Seriously?
Yeah. And I just really hated like bumbling out the door, relying on my coffee and, taking about a couple of hours to get going. So I was like, I'll have a shower, that'll wake me up. And they do. And I'm a massive, massive fan of Wim Hof. We've often spoke about him.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, just one morning I just turned the knob the other way, and I was like, yeah. And I tell you what, that was a shock. And I think I'm nearly on a 6-month streak at the moment. Every morning, bam, even on weekends.
Good effort.
Yeah.
It's not pleasant.
It's not, but that's the idea.
Yeah, I know.
That's
precisely.
the idea. Yeah, it's not pleasant. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we did an event not too long ago, which was like the Wim Hof breathing and then going into, it was a reservoir, but it was cold.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't warm.
It was cold.
Yeah. It's awesome. And with things like that, and for the longest time, I was like, why do I love doing that? Why am I drawn to extreme things like that, from fighting to cold showers to, even with my weight training, I would train pretty hard. And I recently discovered, for me, it shows you more. Like, I can tell so much about a person by how they train. And it sounds a bit hippy-dippy, but bear with me. And there's a quote I read, it's, how you do something is how you do everything.
I love that quote.
And let's say, for example, on a bench press, right? And it doesn't matter how fit or strong or unfit the person is, right? Training is a physical stress. And what I'm looking at is how they react to that physical stress. Mm-hmm. Do they quit and give up and start moaning? Do they grit their teeth and get it done? Do they get angry and fight back? And I can tell so much about a person within those couple of minutes. It's fascinating. But equally, I also apply that to myself. Now, a lot of the times I might say that to the person. Like, for example, I was training with one of my colleagues during the week, and she's like, I don't know if I can do that weight. And I was like, no, you absolutely can. And she'd done it relatively easy. Mm-hmm. I was like, you have a habit of holding yourself back, don't you? I was like, so it shows, and it allows me to see them as a person in a totally different way. Some people say it allows me to see their soul. Mm-hmm. For me, and what I love about it, because if I can look at myself subjectively, mm-hmm. what type of person am I when it gets going, when I start struggling? Do I bitch and moan and throw it away in a temper tantrum? Do I protect my ego and put the weight back and go? Do I grit? Again, and it can vary from day to day. We all are, we're none of us are machines. We have different moods. But what am I seeing back from this right now? Do I like it? Do I like that person? Do I want to be that person? Yeah. Yes or no? If it's yes, awesome. If it's no, why not? Mm-hmm. Why not? So it kind of goes a little bit more. So I meditate daily, but my training can also be quite meditative. Yeah. So, it's and I use training and back in the day fighting to ultimately see who I am. That to me they're tools to see who I am and what I'm about.
Who are you? What are you about?
Oh, God. I walked into that one, didn't I? And again, this is a pretty recent discovery as well of mine as well. So recently, for the longest time, I didn't know, because I'm the type of person you could put me anywhere and I'll be all right. So when I was down in London and Richmond, I had multi-millionaires, and they would invite me around their houses, and I would feel confident and happy, and they felt confident and comfortable inviting me into their home, and I could behave accordingly and all the rest. Equally, you could put me in the most spit and sawdust, toothless pub, and I'd be able to banter away with the lads and I'd be fine. you know, I could go to an opera one night in a black tie, I could go to a death metal gig the next night. And for the longest time, I'm like, who the hell am I? I'm a chameleon. I don't know who I am. But I've kind of flipped that round and go, well, actually, it's my biggest strength. I'm relatable. I can get on with all different types of people. I've very little preconceived ideas, and that I will try and I have a skill set and the personality to find type of common ground and bond with people over different things. And so that is who I've kind of discovered who I am, in that I can be and it's okay to be different types of people. I can be the warrior, or you know, in the ring fighting, or I could be at home reading philosophy. Like I'm like, how I was like, why do I not have a middle ground here? But it's okay. I'm not one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And that is what I've learned about myself, is that it's okay to be a number of different things at any given point.
Yeah. That's a great answer, man.
Oh, thank you.
You handled that really well. That's a tough question.
Genuinely not rehearsed either. That was
exactly.
something that
that's
as what I thought was one of my biggest weaknesses, because I was never what I felt was I was never consistent in my personality. Well, I just can adapt to environments and bond with different people and in different scenarios and different situations.
Yeah. What do you feel is your purpose in life?
I think much like that, different areas of your life, or my life, I'll have different purposes. So I guess there'll be some common themes throughout, because like I said, how you do something is how you do everything. So integrity, I'll always try and do things with the utmost integrity, from my work to my friendships to my relationships, my intimate relationships, and things like that. With purpose, in a work setting, I guess ultimately is to help people. You know, that is at its core. I use fitness and changing their bodies and ultimately their minds and in some way their personalities as a tool to help people. You know, there's people who need help with that, and that is what I do. And my purpose of being a partner is to be a good partner, is to be the masculine presence within a relationship. And if and when I ever have kids, my purpose will be the best father I can, to give them the best template of what it's like to be a man, or what it's like, or how a man should treat a woman. And so from different areas, I'll have different purposes, and I don't think I quite have them all figured out just yet, but right now I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah.
So I don't have a straight answer for that one, unfortunately.
No, that is a really good answer. Yeah. Really good. Yeah. What do you think it means to be a man these days?
God, I think it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not to say it's, you know, this isn't to trigger or to be controversial for controversy's sake. Because yes, there's other, you know, women have harder, and, you know, you could say black people or minorities, and so you can have all these different subsections that have it harder than the white male. And we've had it easier compared to others. However, that doesn't mean it's easy. And so I think that's where, I think we're almost like a forgotten, God, I was going to say gender, but we're not a forgotten gender.
Yeah.
We're a forgotten, or I think masculinity is often criticized and not very well understood, both by women and by men. And a lot of what I've been reading and learning now, it is about masculinity, is about the history of masculinity and where it's come from and why our behaviors tend to be like that, because, you know, which ties into my work. Why do we behave in certain ways?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of things, you know, we're not taught to be what it's like to be a man. You know, and what I've also learned is that there's a difference between being a good man and being good at being a man. And there's a real big difference there. So you know, if you look at it traditionally, a man protects, provides, is that strong kind of stoic presence. And yeah, I do definitely bring a lot of that to a relationship. But when we talk about equality, I never really like using the word equality because I don't think men and women are equal. We've different strengths. Like I'm definitely a very masculine man, but I understand that, and with that there is shortcomings. Whereas the feminine really gives that brilliant, lovely balance to the masculine, and vice versa. So the feminine, you know, kind of supports and loves, not unconditionally, but it's much more nurturing.
Yes.
It's very, very different. And for me, I love having that in my life. It's a real, real balance. So we're not equal, because if we're equal, to me, we just come like this. We're interchangeable.
Yes.
And yeah, personally, I absolutely love it. A woman who embraces her femininity is one of the most attractive things for me. But what is it like to be a man? God, it's hard. It's hard because, you know, for everything that's wrong in the world, white straight men get blamed for it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is hard. We get the blame for everything.
If you look at male suicide rates as an indicator of what it's like to be a man, something's not right. Something's out of balance.
Yep.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think we've got such a problem?
Again, I think there's so many different reasons. I think a lot we might not have an idea of our role in society as much. We're not, because we're being lambasted from, or what it feels like to be lambasted from left, right, and centre. I say, all right, but who's here to appreciate us? You know, I think we're lacking a bit of love, and I think we've lacked purpose, because, again, you know, if women seem to be more and more independent, which, don't get me wrong, it's great, but where do we fit into their lives?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, how are we appreciated? And I think that's becoming harder and harder.
I'm glad we went there in conversation.
Yeah,
I kind of wanted to bring it up with you because I know it's something that you've kind of looked at or thought about, certainly.
It is, very much so, and I'm really kind of at the beginning stages of really studying it and understanding it more, and there's a lot of really interesting content out there. A lot I don't agree with. I think it's almost too far of. Well, I don't think it'll be centred, because that goes against my point. But it goes too far for me. Whereas, but I do I understand the thought processes. I understand the reasoning, and some of it will resonate brilliantly with me. Others, some of it not so much. So, for me, I take on board what feels good and feels right, in line with my values, and I wouldn't say ignore, but I do listen to it, but maybe not take on board or action or look to integrate into my life or my way of thinking and being, because I don't think it suits me or it doesn't feel right to me.
What would you like your legacy to be, Alan? We're going deep.
We're going deep. Going deep. What would I like my legacy to be? One of the benefits, there's very few benefits of losing a parent, but when at my dad's funeral, and of course everyone's sharing stories and stuff, one of the most common things that people kept saying is that what a good person he was, or what a good man he was, and what a gentleman he was. And I just thought, what a great legacy to leave behind. And so I've definitely I would love for people to say those things about me as well. That I was that I always tried to do the right thing. Even if it meant upsetting people or hurting people, if I can always try and do the right thing, then I'd like that for my legacy to be. Hopefully people could respect that, even if they didn't agree with that.
Powerful stuff. How do you define success?
Whee. God, such a relative and subjective term, isn't it? Again, I think you'd have to break your life into certain areas and judge it that way. Well, I would anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, financially, because money's a big part of our lives. Well, the basics would need to be down, a roof over your head and clothes on your back. But long term, to be able to provide for a wife, I'm open to get, or maybe not even a wife, a long-term partner, and kids, to give them that safety, that security, and ultimately options, because that's what money brings. In terms of my work, again, I am successful in my work. It's a case of do I want to be more successful? The answer is yes. So to be able to help more people, to be able to reach a bigger audience, to have more of an impact. But ultimately, I am successful, so I'm very big on showing gratitude for what I already have, more so than constantly looking forward about what I don't have. Again, in friendships and other relationships out with, is to have people that I like and that who are good for me and that enjoy and have fun with, without bringing each other down. To that is success. Being able to build, like, making friends as an adult is hard. That is one of the biggest things I really came up against in the divorce. Is like, how do I bloody make friends? So to have people in your life that you love spending time with, and who are great for you, and that you're good for them, is definitely a measure of success. And your relationship with yourself. Yeah,
huge.
If you could be happy in your own company, not all the time, of course, but then that shows, or to me anyway, it means I know I'm at peace and that I'm extremely comfortable with myself. And there's people in the world who would give their right arm for that, and so that would also have to be a measure of success. So yeah, that's how I would look at it through different lenses.
What are some of your sort of future plans, or life goals is big, but you're sort of, where do you see yourself going?
Again, in terms of work, I have a fear of being a 60-year-old personal trainer. Okay. And as much as I love what I do, and I genuinely do,
really,
I don't want to be 60 and doing this.
Okay.
So I am currently working on going into the education side of things. So being able to create my own personal training qualifications, but more than that, to offer support and guidance for PTs who either want to be employed or self-employed, and show how they can, inspire and create ultimately the next generation of PTs, because it is a great industry. I do love it. Yes, it has its problems, and yes, it's highly unregulated. But if I can show people, or I can show other PTs that you don't have to have a massive social media following. You don't have to get your backside out every 5 minutes. You don't have to be shredded. You don't have to sell supplements. You can genuinely impact people in a really, really good way. And the qualification is only part of it. It's the ongoing support and mentoring after it, to really give them that platform to genuinely help people, more so than surface level helping people. Then that is where I'm going next, and what I would like my work legacy to be.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the term personal trainer?
I think it's a term that has a lot of connotations with it. Like you said earlier, I hate telling people what I do, because I usually get met with those two things of, oh, you're a health freak, or but people, there's a big trend, and you might see it yourself on social media. people love to call themselves something new.
Life coach.
Well, at least that's its own thing. But I mean, personal trainers calling themselves something else.
Okay.
You know, and so from that I would say, well, personal trainer is a good term. However, so there's a lot of people out there, like a guy called Nick Mitchell. He owns a chain of personal training studios now around the world.
Wow.
And he's been brilliant. I absolutely love him. He's very, very direct. However, to me, he has raised the standard of PTing in the UK single-handedly.
Wow.
Without a doubt. And he is giving a lot of credibility through his businesses and through his content he puts out back into the word term personal trainer. So he's a person who takes pride in that. Although he doesn't train anyone anymore, he's someone who takes pride in that. And people like him give me my love back for that term. I want to take it back more so than, PT. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it's a term that brings up a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I just was interested to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah. What do you think is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I always remember my mum telling me when I was quite young of make the most of what you got. And for some reason, that's always stuck with me, although I wouldn't necessarily think about it on a daily basis. I remember, I must have been 10, 11, quite young. She just, and it wasn't this really life-defining moment. I think she was just saying it in passing, but for some reason it stuck with me, and it must have stuck with me for some reason. So make the most of what you got. Yeah, because that's all you have.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you had the opportunity to speak to your 20-year-old self, what would you say?
Right. So 20-year-old Alan was a fighter. And although to look at him, it's funny, I'm always talking about him as a separate person, but he actually was, though, because he, on the surface, like you said, he was fit, he was strong, he was fierce, he was skilled. He like, I kind of talk about him in no other terms except as a fighter, because that's all he kind of was. But he was riddled with, self-doubt and like I guess most 20-year-olds are, even though you'd never think it. The advice would be very straightforward in that don't worry about things too much, they will work out. The problem is, how would I get that through to 20-year-old Alan? Because he, like I said, I like to control the controllables, but I'm also way better now at letting things go. 20-year-old Alan could not do that. Everything needed to be in his control. And things will work out the way that things will work out. And it's wasted energy thinking about that. So that would be the advice, but the trick would be to get it through to him and say, it's fine, relax.
Yeah.
Enjoy things a little bit more.
Yeah.
Stop trying to control everything.
What do you think 20-year-old Alan would think of you now?
Wow, there's a question. Oh, I don't think he'd like him.
Seriously?
Yeah. Oh, 20-year-old Alan knew it all. He knew it all. And when you're a fighter and when you're talking to someone who's older, you'd always get this, I used to fight back, or I used to do some martial art, and it's like, all right, here we go again. But I think me now because I'd always describe myself as quietly confident. I'm not the rah-rah look at me type, I never will be. But I can sit there and I can take things on board, and I don't necessarily I definitely don't overreact, and I don't react a lot of times. So, but a quiet confidence would really unsettle 20-year-old Alan, because he would ready to go. He would go like that.
Okay.
Whereas 36-year-old Alan would be like, calm down, son. Yeah. And being more emotionally mature would really unsettle me. So yeah, I think he'd be. I don't. Initially, I don't think he'd like me, but he'd be intrigued but very unbalanced by me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great thought. I'm going to think about that for the next week. Yeah, I don't think he'd like me. Only because this Alan is shining a big light on that Alan's insecurities.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's things that you've acquired through experience, and that's wisdom.
Exactly. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I was a bit of a know-it-all. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people in their 20s are.
True. I know. And that's I sometimes I can be overly harsh on myself. I need to just ease off. But yeah.
If you could change anything in the world, what would it be and why?
Wow. Oi, Elliot. Change anything in the world. You see, this is the point where I should really say something like end war or end famine. And of course, those are great things to end. But it's not what comes to mind first. Okay. So again, I want to be truthful. And even if someone thinks less of me because of it, then so be it. What would I change in the world? Oh man, what a question. That has really got me, that one.
What's coming up?
Well, just know, again, social conditioning.
Oh, right, okay.
And I speak from the point of when we touched on what it's like to be a man and the expectancies or the judgments for being a man, but also what I perceived were the social pressures of being divorced when I was 35. So societal pressures, societal conditioning, I think really keep people in a place where they don't want to be, but fearful for being outside of that. So yeah, I think that would probably be one of the biggest things.
Social conditioning.
Social conditioning, yeah, or something. Maybe I'm not explaining it quite well, but something along those lines where that our limiting beliefs aren't holding us back as much for fear of what we perceive the wider society, how they will react.
Yeah. So how others, less fear around how others see us, I guess.
Well, I don't know. Like others will see us in whichever way they want, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And there's very little we can do to change that. So it's not so much that. People will either we'll have three modes. They'll like us, they'll dislike us, or they'll take us, they're apathetic towards us. So, I have very little control, and that doesn't bother me so much.
Okay.
But more so, a person not liking me, fine. A group of people disliking me. Maybe the problem's me.
Well, yeah.
That is a big question.
It's a big question.
That is a great question.
Yeah, it's my secret weapon.
I was not prepared for that one.
It's a tough one. It is a really tough one. I've heard pretty much everything for that as well.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't want to give you some generic.
Well, yes, I know.
And of course, getting rid of poverty and world hunger, very important, of course. And I say that blasé. I'm not being blasé about it, but equally, it was, if I'm being truthful with myself, it wasn't the first thing that came up. I wouldn't feel a genuine answer. I feel I'm just...
got to be authentic.
Absolutely. And again, it's... 20-year-old Alan would not have done that. He would have lied just to make himself look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, Alan, I've loved speaking with you. It's been an absolute blast. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to, or are you?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I made me feel so comfortable and so welcome. So thank you.
Thanks,
It's
mate.
been great.
It's been a pleasure. Love it.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.